All right, so today we're looking at getting started with FinaMetrica, and we'll just take a look at the outline and what we hope to cover today. So first we're going to look at how we register clients within the software. And then we'll take a look at options for completing the questionnaire. So you can send out a hard copy if your client prefers not to do it online electronically, or you can actually send an email invitation with a link where your clients can receive the questionnaire prior to the meeting. Once they've completed the questionnaire, it will update within the software. Oops, we're going backwards here. All right, so once your clients have completed the profile, we'll look at when's the appropriate time to retest on risk tolerance. And then the last piece here, we'll look at how you personalize your logins, your website. So we'll look at different personalization features. So your logo, your company logo, if you want to add your own image, as well as the customization of the email that gets sent out when you invite the client to do the test. So we'll look at where those features are. So let's get started. So just before we do jump into the software, I want to talk a little bit about risk tolerance and the FinaMetrica test. So what is risk tolerance? So we do know that risk tolerance is psychological. And when explaining risk tolerance, the idea here is that it expresses how your clients feel emotionally about taking risk. In this case, again, it's about financial risk. So sorry, it's on automation. I didn't realize that. Okay, so how you feel emotionally about taking risk. And again, with risk, you can be, slightly uncomfortable, or you can be, more comfortable. So it's a continuum of unfavorable outcomes and favorable outcomes. So your risk score will be somewhere where you sit along that continuum is your risk tolerance. So the actual test itself is scores between 0 and 100. So the average risk of a specific peer group would be that 50 mark, and then where you fall along that 50 line. The actual risk curve, which you'll probably see once we go into the software, you'll see that, again, the majority of the cluster is right in the middle, where most of the population is comfortable with average risk around that 50% mark. And we're going to see that once we go in. So the actual FinaMetrica test here. So the FinaMetrica risk tolerance test, scientifically validated, and it is a psychometrics test. Unlike other risk profiling tools, FinaMetrica, what it is a marriage of psychology and statistics. So it's scientific as well as psychological. Okay. And with the idea of psychometrics, we can then produce valid and reliable results. So the FinaMetrica profile was developed in assistance with the University of North South Wales, and is maintained ongoing. It is maintained by the London School of Economics. So just recently this year, we've gone from a 12-question test to a 10-question test. And there is some documentation that I can show you within the resources section of the website, where you can, for those who, again, like the the technicals in the background to support our move from the 12 to the 10. There's some documentation in there to explain that move. So there is now the 10 question test or the 25 question test. And again, the questions themselves have been a lot of research and testing has gone into trying to make the questions in plain English. So your clients, as they're taking these tests, they don't need, typically won't need you to be explaining ideas or concepts within it. They're written in layman's plain English so that your clients could sit on their own and be able to answer the questions and actually understand what's being asked. All right. So at this point, what I'll do now is I'll just take us into the FinaMetrica login page for our advisors. And just one moment here. So I just want to confirm everyone can see the login screen for me. All right. So what I will actually, just before I do log in, some of you may be using FinaMetrica through an integration like a planning software or another financial tool as well. So this session is actually geared more specifically to those who are logging into the FinaMetrica landing site and are working with clients through the standalone feature. I will as well, for those of you who might be using FinaMetrica, as I mentioned, with as an integration supported in another planning software, I will go to our resources tab to show you where some of the resources that I might show on screen would be available to you that way as a hard copy as opposed to working with your clients online. So here I've got my username and password, and I just click my login, and it's going to take me to my landing page or my home page. Okay, and when I've logged into my landing page, what I see here is a snapshot of all the questionnaires that have been sent, questionnaires that have been completed, as well as I've got 74 questionnaires that have come due, and that where I've set that need to be retested, basically. All right. So again, I paused for a moment. I was about to answer questions, but again, I'll hold all of questions. You can type questions as they come up, but I will address all questions at the end of the session. So what we're seeing here is for the 25 question test, and I can see, and what this actually is how my clients who have taken the 25 question test, where my grouping is. So here we can see that I've got a sort of a higher concentration of my clients who have taken the test are falling into that 5th risk group, which is fairly uncommon, but again, this is our demo site. Typically what we see is the curve here closer, the ranges here, typically right here in that 3, 4, 5 range. So I can look at 12-month, I can look at all tests over time, as well as I can look at the difference, again, between my 12 and 25. So on people who've taken the 10 question test here, I can see how many, where they've scored. All right, so just a little bit more on the landing page. Below it shows me tests that have been recently completed, as well as in the box on the right, it shows me clients who are due for a retest. So we can see as an advisor, I'm pretty delinquent. I've got 74 clients to retest. And then also as well on that homepage here, you have news and alerts. You can go in and actually look. You can just scroll through and you can see past events. Again, at the top, you'll see the most recent news and alerts. And this might be when newsletters come out, upcoming seminars, or if we've, there's any changes or any, new information about FinaMetrica or partners, you'll see that here. And then in this top right section is where you can search for clients who you've already set up in the system, or you can actually add a new client right from this page. And once you've completed this section and click on the add, it'll actually give you a pop-up box to then go in and set some details about adding a client. But before we get into actually adding a client and showing you how to do that, if you want to do it electronically or just set them up and then they've done it paper-based and wanting to enter them, just going to go into the advisor section here. So we're in the top right here. If I click on the arrow and click on My Details, this will then take me into my own little portal where I can do some customization or enter information about myself. So here are, first name, last name, as well as my email address. Here under profile picture, so I can upload 2 different images. One, if I want to upload my own image, and then if I want to upload my corporate branding. Or my company's branding. So here again, you can just click on the upload button. It's going to open that dialog box to your computers for you to be able to do that. So again, pretty self-explanatory. And just below here, what you'll do is set your country or your country in which you're using your risk test. So again, the drop down everywhere that's available on here would be in that list for you to use. And all this will do is it will set the risk test, which is emailed out to your client. And maybe just a little bit of background. Again, it is the same risk test for regardless of country, but the terminology with it is localized. So for instance, you'll see differences with if we might say GICs versus CDs, so things like that. So the risk test, the questions aren't different jurisdiction per jurisdiction or location. It is that the terminology is localized to support that region. Again, here you have a username. If I wanted to change my password, I could do that here as well. And down in this section here, what this allows you to do is there is actual content that is pre-populated into that email that is sent out. But the beginning before the automated message, which gives your clients a link to come in that invites them in to do the risk tolerance test. If you wanted to customize this piece before the actual link in content, you could type that you can type those details in here. And this piece here, when we came into the system, I showed you where I had 74 clients who were up for review, and that's and that alert or how that is tracked is based on when I set my due date for review. So this is again for all clients who I'm not specifically going in where they might have a change in life event, where I just want to set up a review period, just a standard one. So we typically recommend that you retest your clients every 2 to 3 years. We just happen to have it set to 1 year in this demo account. And again, the reason we suggest reviewing your clients or having your clients retake the risk test every 2 to 3 years is because what we know about risk is that it is stable. Not to say that it's set in stone and doesn't ever change, but for the most part, risk is stable. You will find that life events, whether those life events are good or bad, such as, a good event might be someone getting married, or they might, have a big windfall, receive an inheritance or something of that nature. or it could be a what we consider a bad event, where they experience, death of a partner or something, or, the downturns in a market, something of that nature. So whether the event is good or bad, at that point is when you'll want to look at retesting your client outside of just, again, doing it every 2 years, 2 to 3 years. So 2 reasons you might retest is, again, at a 2-3 year check, you want to just make sure that the clients, in terms of risk, are there aren't any significant changes, or you'd want to retest again after a life event, whether that be good or bad. And so I can change that to 2 here. And all I do at that point is I can click on save, and I've now customized my profile. So I'm going to cancel out, not make any changes to this. Okay. And when I canceled out, it actually took me to my client's page, the client landing page. And here, what I'll see is a list of my clients. I can import lists as well. That is supported of my clients. But the other piece that I want to just talk about is the ability to be able to add clients. So from my home screen, I could do this as well. So some of the functions as well, you can locate it from multiple areas depending on what landing page you're on. Here, if I was to enter in my client's information and just click on add, what that does here is it opens a new dialog box. In this dialog box, if I'm adding a client, first it defaults to single, but if my client is married and I'm sending the risk test to both clients, and definitely whether or not a client's profile is managed by maybe one and the other spouse is sort of not included in the decisions, it is still important to test both of the clients, so testing the couple. So in this instance, if I click on couple, what I'll see is it'll give me a second area where it opens up so I can add details about the partner. So I'm going to go back to single for now. And again, because I've entered in the details on the home screen, it's pre-populated here. You can see by default my country that is in my client profile is here, but you do have the ability where you might have multiple countries that you support. You do have the ability to change the risk test that is sent out. So for instance, I might say I want to send out the risk tolerance questionnaire for the UK. So a username is automatically generated for the client that's created, and they'll be able to, again, create a password, log into the system if you give them access to view their report after the test. So, and as well here, the 12-question test and the 25-question test, as well as the 10-question test, are all here within this, still available for use. I know at some point we will remove the 12-question test, but for now they're all still available to be sent out to clients. And again, the 12-question test, the questions haven't changed. We've eliminated 2 of the questions because we found, as we continue to research and analyze the risk tests, I believe we've done well over 1 million risk tests at this point. We noticed that the answers to those 2 questions that have eliminated aren't impacting the actual the results as well. So again, if the questions don't have an impact, there's no reason you can still get valid and reliable results without these 2 questions. So we've shortened that to 10 questions. So I'm going to select the 10 question test. And below just some of the features that are available here, I can, so one, you'll always want to, if you want to send out So you'll want to tick on create the risk test, and whether or not you want to include the demographic questions. So there are a set of 10 questions after the risk test, which just ask, again, demographic information about your client. So things like income, again, how we look at classifying the results that way. However, just a note that whether or not your clients answer these questions, or if you do send it, it doesn't impact how the questionnaire results. So it's more for our statistical purpose, where if you include this, we encourage you to include it, but if you don't, it doesn't have an impact on the score. So whether or not you want to actually give the clients access to view the report after it's done, some of you may prefer to have the clients come into the office and to discuss the report together, or by checking this box, once they've completed online, they'll actually be able to see their results. So you can check or uncheck that option. So it says send registration by email. So for those of you who want to have the clients complete it before and you want them to do it online, you'll keep that checked. If you want to see if you want to actually see, you want a copy sent to you as well, you would check the box here, so that you would get a copy of the registration email that's sent, and as well if you want to enable that the clients that have read it. So this goes to the advisor as well. So if I click on save and close, so I've checked all the options here. Okay. So now here we can see Marie Spence, the client I've just completed for myself. I now have, they're now here in the list, and this client would have been sent the risk test electronically. As I look on my phone, I've already gotten my email, which shows the invite the client, and maybe I'll just bring that up for you quickly so you can see how that's done. I sent it to my personal. So here you can see I've already received my risk tolerance questionnaire. And here, again, remember that piece where you can customize the message in the beginning. All we had in that box is this is a FinaMetrica demo account. And then this is the preset message that goes out to your clients. And when they click on this link, I'm logged into FinaMetrica, so that's not going to take me to where I want to go. But if I wasn't logged into it, your clients would then see a screen and they could go through and complete their test. All right, so I'm just going to go back here and I'm going to add a client from this view. And the only difference, if your clients are using, so I've got myself logged in more than one space. Let me just take that out. Sorry here. So if I'm on the client's, my client landing page, if I'm adding a client from this view here, again, you're going to get the same box populated. The only difference is if you don't want to actually have the risk questionnaire go out to your clients, you'll uncheck the box. I'm going to add. You can still add an email address, and your email address doesn't have to be unique. If you've used the email before, it doesn't have to be unique. You might send it to, again, multiple people using the same email address. If that is the case, it automatically generates a unique link regardless of the same email. So here, if I just unchecked create the risk test, So what that does now is it still adds my clients to the system, but in the case where I've sent out or the clients are completing the paper-based tests, I now would go into, and let me just again. So from this level here, what I can do is I can send, this is if I wanted to retest my clients, I could send a new questionnaire. From here, I can reset my client's passwords if necessary, and I can edit client details. So did I have a wrong email address, or did I spell a name incorrectly? It will open up that dialog box. If I expand down to look at the second part here, what that shows me is when my clients were created and the test that I'm sending to my clients. Here, I can manually enter in my client's results, and what that launches is what your clients are seeing online when they're completing the test. So you're now going to manually go in and update from the paper-based version if you're not sending it to your clients electronically. Let me go back here to hard copy. The other thing to note is every time you retest a client, you'll see the new date for when you sent the client a retest. Important again, the difference is if I want to resend an invitation because client maybe hasn't responded, I can use the resend option here. But at the if what I actually want to do is retest my client, I'm doing a new questionnaire here. And as you can see here, when I expand out, the total times, not that I've sent the same questionnaire, but how many times the clients have taken a new risk test is what shows up in this field here. All right. So I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the time and seeing how we're doing here. So we're almost out of time. So we've talked about registering the clients and how to register them. In terms of if you're using hard copy, I'm just going to take us out to resources at this point. In the resources center, and again, you can get to it if you're not using the FinaMetrica site, the standalone tool, you can just go to riskprofiling.com. And in the support section, once you've gotten to the website, here's where you'll find all of the tools and resources. So you'll find, quick start guides and videos, lots of information in here. But those hard copy for the tests are in this towards the right-hand side here. So there is the 25 and the 10 questionnaire. You'll find the old 12 version down below for each of your countries, or if you're using the 25 test, you'll find, again, previous versions of the 25 and the 10. All right. So for today, I'm going to, at this point, so we've talked about registering our clients. We've looked at options for how to send it, whether you want to send that electronically, or if you want to, again, just create the clients and update it through a paper-based or a hard copy questionnaire. When to retest your clients again, so when there is a good or bad life event, or again, sort of just as a standard retest every 2 to 3 years. And we've looked at how to personalize your logo or how to personalize your advisor information within the system. All right, so at this point, I'm going to take some questions. Again, if you have any additional questions, excuse me, what I will do is answer them here. So one of the first questions I have is there a place you can give input to some of the questions we are having to explain? Sorry, we are having to explain the 8 to 10. Sorry, we are having to explain questions 8 to 10 on the test. Is there a place you can give some input? Okay. What I'll actually do here is I'll send, and just because we are at the 30-minute mark, but what I will do is, again, Alice, see your question. I will look for your email on the registration list, and what I'll do is I'll attach a section from the question guide in which it helps to explain the actual questions themselves within the risk test, because probably going to take longer than we have at this point. And then I've got a second person here who's asking, can you spend time on the My Portfolio tab? That as well, I can probably spend 2 minutes here to do this, but as well, I will send a link out. We did a session last month called Making the Most of FinaMetrica, and we do cover the My Portfolio section in here. And I'm just going to quickly click on the My Portfolios, and I've got portfolios set up already. And essentially what this allows you to do, these names are probably not the greatest, so I'll go to something else here. No, I don't want to use that one. Okay, so I'll use Plan Plus mappings. So as an advisor, you're probably using some other tool in which, or you've got modeled portfolios that you typically customize, that have, you've already done some due diligence on the funds, and you sort of will have recommendations if you have your clients in a more fixed income driven portfolio, or they might be in a balanced portfolio. What the system is looking at is when you're creating in the My Portfolio session, it allows you to add in your own customized portfolios based on the components of growth or equities within those portfolios. And so what you're doing is you're looking at your model portfolios, their growth assets, and what the best fit or match is based on that risk score. So for instance, in this all income portfolio, I've got 0% growth, and the best fit would be a client who scores between 0 and 26. And then it shows you where your clients, the ranges and their comfort levels as they change. That itself, what it allows you to do is map over in the gap analysis. It allows you to add your different model portfolios, and it shows you the ranges from a growth asset point and where your portfolio lies in your client's continuum range of where they're most comfortable, again, where they're least comfortable to most comfortable taking risk. So that's what the My Portfolios tab is. And I apologize, I'm sort of spinning through it very quickly. All right. So again, looking to see if we've got any other questions here from the audience. Okay. So we are going to wrap our session for the day. And as I said, I will definitely follow up on that first question where you're looking for some guidance or input on questions 8 through 10. I'll send that out to you again in the next day or so. Again, we run the FinaMetrica webinar, so typically notifications will come out in the newsletter, and we're typically running them on the last Thursday of every month. So stay tuned for additional webinars to come. And a feedback survey will come out just shortly after this session. For those of you who are joining, we definitely want to hear about what types of sessions you'd like, what areas of the software you'd like us to cover for you. So again, in that area, please let us know what other webinars you'd like us to do for you here. Again, thank you all for joining. Again, hopefully we'll see you soon, and have a great day.